ladybugs, how are we doing? I'm doing okay. Today we're going to dress Ashwin and Ansley in these outfits because I want to show you how cute they are when they match. And they are pretty close. They're not identical, but they're pretty close. So we're going to start with Miss Ansley, and I love her hair and pigtails. She's got a few stray hairs, but that's okay. I need to get the slick stick for her. Hang on one second. All right, I got the slick stick. This is really good for putting the baby's hair up. It's called Slick Stick Stronghold. It's hair wax. It's by Nexus. I'm sure there's other brands, but I love this stuff. It works really good for keeping the hair in place, like when you do pigtails and you have like stray hairs. So yeah, it works really good. I'm just having a hard time in my life right now. Having a hard time with my body. And that causes me to have a hard time other areas of my life. You know what I mean? But it's okay. So, what have you guys been up to? I did a TikTok live last night. I know that people who do really well on TikTok do a lot of lives. But I don't know, it's different doing a live than it is doing like a recorded video. Not like I ever re-record it if I make mistakes or anything, but I don't know, it just feels different, you know, interacting with people live. I don't know. I'm not sure that I want to do a bunch of lives. I'm starting to think about it, but you know, one of the things that I've noticed about doing well on TikTok or even on YouTube is you have to be on it so much. You know, it takes up so much of your life. And there's Evie. And I'm just not that into social media, I guess. So I keep thinking about doing it, but then, you know, I'm just not, I don't know. So it's a conundrum I'm working on. I'm just not into it all the time, you know, into social media. I have the dogs and, you know, my families and what I was going to say, I didn't mean families as in plural. I was going to say, and my family's important, but then I kind of lost track of that sentence. I don't know. I'm fine doing the YouTube videos, but I feel like doing a bunch of lives and stuff, it invites people more into my life, and I'm not sure that I don't know. I don't know what I want right now. I want my channel to get bigger, but I don't think that TikTok is the way to go, you know? I run out of things to say. I try to talk to people who chat, but there aren't very many people who chat, so kind of run out of things to say and things to talk about, I guess. Hi, Chug. Can I help you, Bubba? Can I help you? Hello, ma'am. So, yeah. I don't know. I think I'm just going to have to accept the fact that I'm never going to be really big on social media, you know? There are things that you can do and things that I see people do. Like I have a friend who's pretty big on TikTok and she doesn't want to shout my channel out. She just keeps giving me advice on how to be bigger on TikTok. And one of the ways that she talked about getting more popular on TikTok is to wear low-cut clothing and expose more of my chest and, you know, try rage bait, you know, doing, you know, I could do inappropriate things with the dolls, or I could, you know, pretend to hit one of my dogs or something like that. And she's obviously not suggesting that I hit my dogs or anything, but even pretending, like, I'm sorry, that's just not me, you know? I don't want my channel to get big because I've done something horrible. You know what I mean? I hope that makes sense. Hold on, I'm trying to figure out how usually you just push the bottom and it comes up, but it's not working right now. There we go. All right. So usually you know, it seems like in order to be semi-decent on social media, you have to be immoral. You know what I mean? Engage in rage bait and anything to do with sex or anything to do with being cruel, those kinds of things. And I'm just not willing to do that. And I told her that. I said, you know, I'm just not willing to do that. And she's like, well, that's how I got most of my audience, was with rage bait and with, you know, showing low cut outfits. And she said, it doesn't have to be like, you know, slutty, but you want it to be, you know, obvious that you're being provocative. And I just can't, you know. Here's the thing. If I can't make it on social media being myself, then I don't want to make it, because I don't want to build up a persona that then I have to keep making bigger and making more egregious. You know, do you know what I mean? Like, I understand that that's what sells and that's what, you know, makes people popular on social media, is the rage bait and you know, being provocative. But that doesn't work for me, you know, because once you establish that persona, in order to keep your followers, you then have to continue, you know, acting that way. And honestly, I don't want to make it big being something that I'm not. And two, I don't want to sacrifice my morals and my values, which dressing provocatively would, just to make money. You know what I mean? That to me makes me look, or at least in my mind, I know a lot of people will disagree with this, but to me, that's prostitution. You know, if you sacrifice your morals and values and make yourself more erotic simply to make money, to me, that's just mild prostitution, you know? And it's not me. It will never be me. And the other thing is that, you know, I also take a huge responsibility in social media and people that are watching social media, including young people. And I don't want to be part of the club that teaches young people that if you sell yourself out and abandon your morals and values, you could make money. Do you know what I mean? I know a lot of people will disagree with me and say, oh, well, you know, it's just for social media. You know, it's just a persona. It's not really you. Because that's what my friend said. But, you know, that's not me. That's not ever going to be me. And I don't want to create a persona that then I have to live up to in order to keep my followers, because it's one thing to get followers. It's another thing to keep them. And if you get them based on some floozy, degenerate mindset, then you have to continue being that person in order to keep them. I'm going to use different bows. And that doesn't work for me. You know, I'm sorry. I can't be that. I can't do that. You know what I mean? I'm trying to figure out what I want to put in her hair. I think that I understand why people would do that. I do. I get it. I know that money is really important, and I understand that. But for me personally, that doesn't work, you know? That's not going to be something that I'm willing to do to make money. And I know that people like me in general, like people who are not provocative and people who are not putting on a show, don't generally make it on social media, like make anything big. And you know, if that's the way it is, then that's okay. Because I don't want to, you know, one of the things I said in the very beginning of starting this channel is I wanted it to be authentic. You know, I wanted me to be authentic. I wanted to be honest and open with you guys. You know, I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that this is who I am. This is not a show. And I feel like if I go against that, I've sold everything I value out. You know what I mean? I don't know. I was talking to her yesterday and we were talking about what it takes to go viral on social media. And when she said, pretend to hit your dog, I was appalled by that. Like, I would never, I mean, you know, I said, well, what if like someone calls animal control and they come and take my dogs away, you know? And she was like, but that would make you go even more viral. And I'm like, no, like then I would lose my dogs. Like, I want to make money to take care of my dogs. I would never sacrifice them. Like, do you have any idea what it would do to them? To the dogs, to like suddenly be ripped from their home and their mom. Look at her, so cute. You know what I mean? Like, imagine that, like they just being ripped from their home, their mom, from each other, and sent into a system that doesn't value them at all. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just couldn't do it. Because I said, well, like if I pretend to hit the dogs, like just to get attention or, you know, get people to, you know, for rage bait or whatever. And then, you know, if I make it look good enough that it's going to cause rage bait, then somebody's eventually going to call animal control and they're going to come and question me about it. And then, you know, what am I supposed to say? It was all an act? You think they're really going to believe that? And then I said, well, you know, what if they take my dogs away? And she was like, well, that would be awesome because that would be even more. Like, that would get you even more clout on social media because now you unfairly lost your dogs. And I'm like, yeah, but in the general public's mind, it wouldn't be unfair because they will think that I hit my dogs. So they'll think, oh, good, you know, somebody took the dogs away from this beast, you know, like... It's in the end, it's not going to work out. You know what I mean? And that's what happens when you become something that you're not to get money or attention or clout. It hardly ever works out because in the end, they'll come and take my dogs away. And then I'm supposed to use that for clout? You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't matter. Like it wouldn't matter how much clout I got out of it. I wouldn't have my dogs, you know? These little beasts are my whole life, you know. I spend all my time with them, taking care of them. They are a huge part of my soul. And I can't even imagine, like, yeah, no. And she's like, then she said, well, those are the prices that we pay for popularity. And I'm like, but it's not a price I'm willing to pay, you know. First of all, I have great respect from the very few followers that I have. And I would lose that immediately if I start being provocative and sexual and basically hooking online and in any way hurting my animals. You know what I mean? Even if it's fake, even if it's you know, it's not real. Most people are not going to know that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just, I can't risk my dogs to become more famous online. And I hate those accounts that are rage bait accounts. You know what I mean? I know they exist and I know they make a lot of money because people have, when they see something that puts them in a rage, they cannot control themselves. They have to say something. And that's where they get the engagement. And that's where they get the clout. Like there's that one lady, I don't remember her name, but she's always the one who's talking about Mama something or other. She's always the one that's talking about welfare and how, you know, she uses the welfare to get her nails done and her hair done and how, you know, it's the taxpayer's job to support her kids. She doesn't even have 6 kids. Like that whole account is a rage bait account, you know? And you know what? If that's what she wants to do, more power to her. But I hate those kinds of accounts. I hate rage bait accounts and I refuse to become one of them. And then she said, well, you know, people don't realize it, but like all accounts are in essence some sort of rage bait. Like they're not real. She's like, you can't become, you know, popular online by being yourself. Nobody can. You know, she's like, if you look at any of those influencer accounts, they're not themselves. You know, they're not real. They're playing to whatever their audience wants. And she's like, and if you look at most of the girls or the ladies, they are wearing low-cut tops. They have their breasts hanging out. You know, they do certain movements. And this is what she was telling me. They do certain, because she does it in her own videos. They do certain movements while they're on camera that seem innocent, but in reality are very provocative. Like they drop something and they bend over to pick it up, or they lean on their arm on the desk or the table, whatever they're sitting at, so that their breasts have more cleavage, or they, you know, bite their lip. They do all these little things that aren't obvious to most people that they're being provocative, but they are. And it's those little subliminal messages that gets them more and more followers. Look at this little boy. Look at this little boy. There's a fly bothering me. He's so cute. Now look at them together. Hold on. Come here, Ansley. Look how cute they look together. Aren't they adorable? And the thing is that if the creator knows that that's what they're doing, then you're basically selling yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no, we're going to address Ivy Jane next. Like, it may be innocent to the viewer, but if the creator is doing that on purpose to get a response from the viewer, even if the viewer doesn't know what they're responding to, they're basically selling themselves. You know what I mean? Like, I can't do that, you know? And she was giving me all these tips and all this advice about how you can, you know, do these little movements that seem very innocent and very subtle. And then in reality, they're incredibly provocative and they make people want to watch you, and it's very erotic in a way. And I just, yeah, that's not me. That's not ever going to be me. Even when I was young, I didn't do those kinds of things. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not ever been me. You know, I don't want to sell myself just to get popular, you know? And so, yeah. I think it's sad that those are the kinds of things that women have to do in order to make it online. And I know that not everybody does, but most people do. After talking to her, all the videos I watch, I'm more in tune to those kinds of things. And they happen so much more than we realize. You know what I mean? Women basically, you know, selling themselves, you know, for popularity online. It's just, it's not me. And if I don't make it because of that, I guess that's okay, you know? I need to keep my morals and my values intact. You know what I mean? Some people will say I'm crazy. Some people will say, just do those little things, you know, just do those little things so that you can have a bigger following and that you can get more, you know, subscribers. And, you know, maybe that works for them, but it doesn't work for me, you know. That will never work for me. I will never be that kind of person, you know. And I certainly won't get into the rage bait. You know, I want my channel to go bigger because of my dolls, because of my personality, because of how authentic and honest I am. If I start playing those games, I lose not only myself, but I lose the respect of the subscribers I already have. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's really important to me, that I have my integrity online and that I have my, I don't know what the word is. I have my personal values and morals that I can stand to. I don't want to make, I don't see any difference between being incredibly provocative online to get subscribers and prostitution. I don't see a difference. You're still selling yourself for money, and I won't do it. Besides, I said to her, like, you know, a doll channel, like, how do you even put rage bait or, you know, like provocative movements into a doll channel? Like, it's a doll channel, you know? And she's like, oh, you'd be surprised. You can bend down to pick up a doll. And, you know, and I told her, I said, people are, you know, online is not like it used to be. Authorities are much more likely to pursue charges against people who do things online. Now, are there people who get away with criminal things online? Sure, of course there are. But with my luck, I would be one of the ones who didn't get away with it. The last thing I need is the police at my door accusing me of animal abuse, you know? So I'm just saying, I would never go that route. I appreciate her advice, but it doesn't work for me, you know? And I told her that I appreciated the advice. I told her whatever works for her. You know, I'm not going to tell her how to live her life, but... And I think that something that she said is very true, that those are the ways that people get popular online, you know? I don't think that's an untrue statement. I think that a lot of people who have millions of followers or hundreds of thousands of followers have them because of these behaviors that they do that people subliminally see as sexual or as provocative, or they're doing rage bait or something like that. And, you know, if that's how they want to live, more power to them. I mean, I'm not going to tell anybody else what's right for their life. But I am going to say that those kinds of behaviors, knock it off, are not right for my life. You know what I mean? I want my channel to go big and be respected. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to sell myself out, and I don't want to sell my viewers out. I think when you engage in rage bait, you are in essence manipulating the viewer. I don't want to do that. I don't want to manipulate people into liking my channel or into commenting on my stuff, you know? I want people to comment and subscribe because they like my channel, because they like me, because they like my dogs, because they like my dolls, not because I'm using, you know, manipulation tactics to, you know, I just don't want that. To me, there's no success in that. Selling yourself out or selling out the viewer, there's no success in that for me. I understand that that's what the world is, and that's how a lot of people make their social media go huge, is by look how cute, is by partaking in either rage bait or provocative behaviors or anything like that. But and I think that it's really, really despicable to say, well, if you lose your dogs in the process, that just gives you more clout to use online. I think that's disgusting, honestly. I have no respect for that, because it doesn't give any thought to how hard it would be on the dogs to lose their mom and lose their home and lose each other, because nobody's going to take 9 dogs together. Do you know what I mean? So they all go to the pound, and then what? You know, how many of them will get put to sleep without being adopted? You know, they'll have behavior problems because they've lost everything. You know, like, it's not, I could never see that as something to use online for clout. To me, that would be the biggest failure of my life, and I would be disgusted with myself. I would lose respect in the doll community, which I've worked for years to have a good reputation. I would lose respect from the people who know me. I would lose my babies, my furry babies, and I could never do that. I just couldn't. So, I don't know. Some people will say I'm insane and I should use these little tactics to get more followers, but unfortunately for me, I just don't have it in me to do that, you know, to risk my dogs and to risk their futures and their happiness just to get a few more followers online. So, I know some of you who are decent people with a heart will agree with everything I'm saying, but I also know there'll be some other people who don't agree, who say, you know, well, obviously you don't want to make it bad enough, you know. Maybe I don't. I want my channel to go big because of me, because of who I am, because of the morals and values that I have, and because people love me, because they love my dogs, because they love my dolls. I refuse to use manipulation or incentivization tactics, you know. So anyway, that's what I've been thinking about today. And she was saying, especially in the TikTok lives, is where I should be doing some of these activities. And she brought up it's not a creator I know, but Tofia Chu apparently like hit her dog, or I don't know if she actually hit the dog, but it looked like she hit the dog in the video. And she got like 100,000 people following her from that, because they wanted to see if she actually hit the dog. And I don't know if she did or she didn't. I haven't watched the video. I don't even know who that creator is. No! But I do know that I would never do that or pretend to do that to get clout online. So, guys, stop! Chuggy, Kobe. So anyway, I'm going to let you guys go because they're obviously barking at something and I have to go see what it is. But I'll talk to you guys later. I love you. Bye. Tell me what you think of what I said in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. I love you guys. Bye.